Grr. No, I'm not hitting on you. I'm talking about Gurzil by Anonymous. Hi guys, welcome back, Beyond the New and all that jazz. Today I'm here just with another book review. In particular today we're talking about a new self-published book that recently came out last week, I believe, on March 2nd, and that would be Gurzil by Anonymous. If you stick around for the whole video, BT dubs, I will tell you how you can get a free ebook copy of Gurzil. So we'll circle back to that at the end, but if you're interested in picking this up, you can get it for free. The day that this video comes out, Friday, and the day after, Saturday, so that's March 11th and 12th, you can get a free ebook of this, and I will tell you how to do so at the end. So let's just jump right into general thoughts on this book. Overall, I enjoyed my time with it. It is, I would say, much more on the historical side of historical fantasy. I believe that the author seems to have taken a lot of time to kind of set up the historical backdrop that this story was taking place in and around, I want to say it's like the fall of the Roman Empire or during the Roman Empire, something Roman. History is not my forte, so like I don't really remember, but like, so there are a lot of details, a lot of facts and all of that kind of things of different countries and different events and generals and all of that kind of stuff that happened. So if that's really like your jam, you're really into history, especially Roman history, I would say that you'd probably really like this. For me, since the history is not like my fave part, those parts kind of slowed me down a little. They were kind of like chunks of almost like info dumping about historical events that were not necessarily why I came to the book. I came to the book for the evil dragon. You know what I mean? So take that for what you will. Like if that kind of era and that historical context really excites you, then this is definitely up your alley. If you want to dip a toe into historical fantasy and don't really know where to start, I would say this is also a very excellent place to start, since it is not a huge time commitment and you can kind of get those vibes of the historical fantasy. So those are kind of my general thoughts. Let's just jump in and do our part by part analysis. So part one, we're going to talk about the magic and the world building. So I'm just going to put this down so I'm not like holding it up the whole time, but this is what she looks like. Yes. But back into the overall review, part one. So the world building is more about setting up the historical events and this historical backdrop of this timeline. It's not like a different world. So like, it's not really world building in like that kind of sense because it is historical fantasy. So I mean, it did a good job of laying the groundwork of the time or era in which this book was taking place. And as for the magic is relatively minimal in this first book. We don't really see much, like, we don't really see the humans doing magic, but we do see their interactions with this evil dragon god, Gurzil. And so he pops up from time to time. And so that's kind of where the magic lies. So there's almost like, it's almost like alternate history where you're getting these events that were happening, I think really happened. And then there's this introduction of, oh, maybe it happened because this evil, malevolent force was behind the scenes. So, I mean, it was good. That's all I can really say about it. So we'll jump into part two now, which is the characters. So there are many, many different characters named in this book. There are some that you would recognize from Arthurian legends, like Morgana and Merlin and Arthur and Gawain and like all of those things. So they're in there, and there are also some new characters that he introduces. I think my favorite of which is, what was her name? I just read this. Why is my memory so bad for character names? Princess Sabra of Selene. So she was an interesting take on like almost the damsel in distress type princess. The evil dragon decided that he wanted her for a bride, and her father kind of sends her away, and like things ensue from there. And so her main plot line is that the dragon wants her for his bride. And so those were like my favorite parts of this book because I enjoyed the more mystical atmosphere of this evil dragon god and the different things to do with his cult and all of that kind of stuff. So she was by far my favorite character. There were other characters that were kind of introduced and brought in sporadically, but since it is such a short novel, you really don't get a ton of time with these characters to really know them and love them and like that kind of stuff. I do know that there is going to be more books in this series. It's book 1 of the Wars of Wrath. And I think the second book is actually coming out later this year. So I would imagine that by the time the series is over, you will have a chance to get to know these characters. But that is one drawback from a book that's less than 300 pages, is you really just don't get that time to have the character development of some longer fantasy series. But especially Sabra, I was interested in her like from the get. And so I'm really curious to see like where she develops and where she goes further on. Most of the other characters kind of like revolve around her plotline with the dragon. And so she's almost like the main character, but she doesn't get like a ton of POV chapters. But I'm definitely interested to see where the story carries on from here, which brings us into part 3, the plot. So this book is definitely not plot focused. It's almost like history and alternate reality focused. So it spends a lot of time setting up the different battles and the different places and the different generals and the different people of the time to really give you this landscape of what the political situation looks like, who are the big players, and that kind of thing. And then we do get to see our evil dragon god Gurzil and the cult of Gurzil and how they kind of are taking over this one city or country or whatever it is. And so the main plot, I would say, is that part revolving around the princess and his lust after her, because there's not really a huge overarching plot in this book that I could see besides that plot line. And I will say that this book, plot-wise, is something more akin to like a Lord of the Rings, where there's not like a story arc in particular that is resolved within this novel. I believe it's setting up for a story arc that will carry off across the rest of the series. And so I would just say know that going in, that you're not going to get a huge resolution at the end of book 1. I do believe that the author will get there, and like they're just spending their time really setting up that political environment and all of that kind of stuff for you to understand where we're at in the world and that kind of thing. And so I think in book 2, I get the impression that it will really start to pop off. And so I'm excited to see where it goes and all of that kind of stuff. And so that's all I have for this review. Overall, this book was 3.5 stars for me, and that's mainly due to the fact that I am just not the biggest history buff. So like all of those historical places, times, blah, blah, like it wasn't my favorite thing ever. But like the plot line with the princess, almost like this King Kong situation where the evil dragon wants the princess, I thought it was really fun, and I'm interested to see where it goes next. And so if you like historical fantasy or you like Roman era stuff, I would highly recommend this book. And like I said, you can get a free copy of the ebook if you are watching this video today, March 11th, or tomorrow, March 12th. You can follow the link in the description down below, and you can download the ebook for free. So you don't even have to be any skin in the game. You can just check it out for funsies. So if that sounds good to you, go ahead and check out the description. But like I said, that's all I have for you today. If you liked this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more bookish reviews and stuff like this from me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!